Okay, let's maybe do a little work on the back here as well. We need to plow this in a bit for the tank. Let's do that now. Alright, so let's grab this again. I'm just going to do a ring on this edge here on the front. Going to ring that over. Go into the front view here. And we'll install our transparency. And we'll connect this up with one segment. Okay, and then we'll just straighten that out. Okay, so make planar on Z. And I'm just going to move this over. And we're going to put this right about here maybe for now. Okay, and even though the side over here is wider than this side, the back is actually even. We have it kind of over and then cut in and the same amount of distance over on this side. So we just need to get some edges in here. That'll help us do that. Let's add one over here as well. So we're going to ring this and connect it up with one segment. Okay, and make planar again. And we'll just push this over. Let's do it about there. And we'll just check out the back width here. Maybe in the top view. Alright, let's grab this guy that we put in there, loop it again, and we'll just move this a little bit over to the outside here. I'm just going to eyeball the distance there. Alright, so we want the same distance over here as we have right here. Okay. And that should be pretty close. Alright, and later on we're going to, pretty much detach the entire bottom piece off, and we'll probably just do a low res version underneath. You're not going to see it, so it really doesn't matter. Okay, so before we pull that in, let's just maybe add another edge loop this way across this. Okay, so just grab an edge there on top, one on this side as well, do a ring, and connect that up with one segment. Alright, I'm just going to slide this to the back. Okay, and we don't need to go really deep into the top here. Let's do it maybe like that for now. Okay, and let's also ring this edge here. And we'll just make some points so that we can connect this across to the cylinder temporarily. Alright, so we know we have about 6 or 8 points here on the cylinder. Let's just see, we got 1, 2, 3. These ones we can go over to the side, so we don't need to go back on it. We don't want to have too many edge loops close together here. It's just going to make things harder. So let's maybe just connect it across these back ones here. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, so let's do a connect with 6 segments. And we'll straighten them out later on. So let's just connect this up quick. Alright, so what we're going to do here, go back into vertex, just grab a pair of verts here in the center. Let's do this one and hit connect. Okay, and we'll just connect each of those across. Just going to use my keyboard shortcut. Okay, let's go to this guy here later on. We're going to cut that over to the side. And we'll probably change a lot of the topology as we go here, depending on our needs. Okay, so let's maybe do a ring this way around those side edges. And we just want to come up to this point here. Alright, so I'm going to do each side of this one at a time. Let's connect this with one segment. Okay, and let's just connect this one over here as well. So I'm going to grab that outside edge there and ring it and connect it. Then we'll just hold down Control, select an edge there and loop it. So we have both edge loops there, select it. Just going to pull these down to the Y. And we'll line it up with that vert right there. Okay. And now we can connect these across. Alright, so let's grab these 2 verts and connect. And the same 2 on the other side and connect them. Okay, we're going to have that triangle face there, but that's okay. We're going to need to cut this top part out later on. Okay, and underneath, let's temporarily connect these up as well. Alright, so I'm just going to do the exact same thing. We'll just line up these pairs. Okay, right to that one. Okay, and then these 2 right here. And anytime you have a sub-object selected, edges, verts, polygons, whatever, you can just hit Z on the keyboard to zoom in on those, and that'll center your rotation to those points. Makes things a lot easier than trying to zoom in manually. Okay, so with those selected, I'm just going to connect them. Over on the other side here, exact same thing, grab those 2 and connect. Okay, so we're looking okay. Next thing to do is to figure out this back part. Yeah, let's maybe just get this cut in here now. I'm just going to go to the top view, and we'll go to polygon. Okay, we want to just grab these polygons here. All right, we're going to start with this small guy here, and drag right across to this one. Okay, and that'll give us an even spacing on each side here, which is what I want. Okay, so let's just maybe delete these out, or yeah, let's just delete it out. Bridge really won't help us with that. Okay, so now I'll just connect these up again. So we're just going to grab an edge there. I'm just going to go down and loop on it by using the arrows, holding control, until we get over to the other side there. And we'll just manually select the bottom ones. Okay, so just right to that corner on the top and right to that corner on the bottom. And then we'll hit bridge. And then we'll go into border, grab the border on this side, whoops, as well as the border over here, and cap those holes. Okay, and let's actually undo that. Hit Control Z there. I just want to add some edge loops first, which will make it a little easier. So another ring on these back edges there that we just extruded down. And we'll just connect that up again with 6 segments. And now we'll go to border and just cap those 2 holes. Alright, so cap that. And then we'll just connect up the verts here. Okay, so just connect them up 2 at a time with the matching ones. Okay, and let's just grab these 2 and connect. Same thing over on this side. Okay, so there we go. Okay, you want to be very particular with the way in which we model this, and the order in which we model the pieces here. With something like this, it's good to break it down and kind of think 5 steps ahead of what you're actually doing. For example, now I know we need to roll these corners over to get this kind of curve here, and right now we can't do that because we have this loop here. So if we go to chamfer this edge here with a wide curve, it's going to intersect this edge here. So what we want to do right now is actually just move these back a bit so we have more room to chamfer these front edges, which have the widest chamfer on the model. These back ones are a lot tighter. They'll be easier for us to do. We have enough room to do that right now, as well as the front ones. But the first thing we need to do is get these edges out of the way. Alright, so let's go into the left view, toggle to transparency, and you can see where my original edges were on my original model, and you can see they're quite a bit back from the front here, and that's just to make room for that chamfer. Okay, so let's go back to vertex. Gonna grab all these verts here. Okay, so everything around that cylindrical piece, as well as the 2 loops on each side. Okay, we're just gonna pull this back in the left view, just like that. Okay. And we also need to add an edge for the back of that door. That's going to be cut in here in a minute. Alright, so let's ring an edge here. Okay, we'll just control click these ones over here so we can ring all the edges around it. Let's do these ones as well. Alright, so just make sure those go all the way around. And we'll connect this up 1 segment. No pinch, no slide. And we'll just go into the top view and make planar on X. Okay, I'm just going to maybe leave this probably right about here. The door's not quite 3/4 of the way back, but it's pretty close to it, so something like that looks pretty good for now. We can probably slide it back a little bit more. And again, we can always adjust this stuff later on if we need to. Okay, and I think we're looking okay for now. Alright, so now we'll start blocking out maybe the actual top piece here, this cylindrical piece. That'll just help us size the door into the mesh. Okay, so let's take another look at the reference here. And we'll start creating this piece. You can see we have kind of a seam in there where it separates from the front to the back, as well as, you know, the door is connected to the back of this piece here. So we're going to need to build this out of one object. And obviously the best place for us to start for something like this would probably be a sphere rather than a cylinder. You could do it with an oil tank if you did it, you know, vertically, but a sphere will give us, you know, pretty much the same result as that. So let's get into this. I'm just going to go to the front view, and we'll go back to the create panel here and grab a sphere. I'm going to go to wireframe F3, and we'll just draw this out right here, something for now. We're just going to figure out what size we need. Alright, so let's just pull it to the front so we can see it. Alright, and we'll just kind of center it here in the hole as best we can by eye. Okay, and I'm also going to rotate this upright so we have these faces on the top, which will make cutting it a lot easier. Okay, so just rotate at 90 degrees so it's upright. Let's also push it up. And we'll line it up, you know, with that center seam here about the center, or on the top of the actual body of this piece. Okay, and we want to make sure this is, you know, fairly close to touching up to the sides here. Alright, I'm just going to move it over slightly. And for the radius here, we'll go, you know, with maybe like 222. And we don't need to really have 32 segments. You know, the majority of the model is going to be turbo smooth later on, so we really don't need to have it that high. Let's crank it down to maybe like 24. Okay. And in our left view here, we're just going to squash this down with the scale on the y-axis. Alright, so we're just going to scale that down. We do want it to be somewhat rounded over at the top. Let's do something maybe like that. And you can see down, excuse me, down at the bottom there on the X, Y, and Z that I'm scaling it down about 60% on the y-axis. Okay, right down there. And we'll smooth that down a little bit. Okay, and again, you know, those blueprints have some distortion on them, so we're not actually looking at it from, you know, the side evenly like we are here in the viewport. That renders, you know, from lower down, and it's got that distortion on it, so that's why we can't see it. But we do want this up to be up a little bit higher, maybe like that. Okay, I just want to make sure that's not too squashed, but yeah, that should work. Okay, so now let's figure out how we're going to cut these seams in here. Let's go into the top view, and we'll convert this to Editable Poly. Let's go into Vertex, and this piece is symmetrical, so we only need to do half of it. So let's grab all the verts on the left side of center and delete them. And we'll figure out where we want our edge here. And I believe we want that right around this section here. We don't want to go too high on top, so let's go to maybe cut. And let's cut maybe from this vert here. I'm going to go down onto the third ring. Okay, we're going to cut from this vert here that's one back from the center mark here. Let's cut this to about the center of this edge. Okay, just like that, and then right click. Okay, we want to get rid of that triangle, so let's go back to Vertex, back to Target Weld, and we'll just weld this point to this point. Okay, and now let us kind of reroute the edge flow here so that it'll work in our favor to get that seam cut in here. Okay, and we actually don't need to have the bottom as well. So let's go into the left view. I'm just going to grab the verts on the bottom here, and I'm going to go one segment lower than the center mark. I want to keep this in here so we can kind of curve the bottom in. So let's delete these off, leave it like that. And we'll go into our edge here, and let's grab this and do a loop. Okay, and then we'll deselect these by holding down Alt. Okay, so we just come up to this corner here, and let's chamfer this. That'll let us split this apart. And we'll just take this up a bit. We don't want the seam to be too narrow, but we want it to be a close fit. So let's do, I don't know, maybe like, let's do about 2 on the chamfer mount. Okay, and that created a triangle right here for us, so let's go back to Vertex, and we'll just maybe target weld these together, or let's just weld them together. Okay, so I'm going to select both, I'm going to go to weld, I'm going to crank up the weld amount until they snap together, and then we'll just go into the top view and make sure that's even. Okay, so just going to slightly reposition that. Okay, and let me change the color of this so we can see it. Should change that to black and put a shader on there. Okay, so let's maybe support this a bit, and I'm just wondering if it would be better for us to do now or later. Now let's maybe do it later. I'm just going to delete the polygons in the center here by selecting an edge in the center of those two and ringing it, then control clicking polygon. Okay, and that should go all the way down to the bottom here as well as over to the side or the front there in the middle. Okay, so with those done, I'm just going to delete them out. Okay, and now we can actually separate these into two objects. Let's go into the top view. I'm just going to grab the vertex in the center, control click polygon, and then I'm going to grow the selection until it fills this entire back piece. Okay, so just make sure you have all those polygons and none on the front. And then we'll just detach this as a separate object, so make sure these are unchecked and hit OK. Okay, now we can start working on this a little bit more. Now we know we need to pull that back out, so let's do that before we give this any thickness or supporting edges. Okay, and on the back here, we actually don't need this bottom section, so let's get rid of those. Let's do that in the side view by selecting the bottom section of polygons and deleting it. And I believe we want to have a little bit more of kind of a straight down back here. Let's go into edge, ring this edge and connect it up with one segment. Okay, just like that. And I'm going to control click vertex here. I'm going to deselect this one, and we're just going to slightly push this out just a bit. Okay, like that. And then we'll go into the top view and we'll just make sure these are even. Okay, and you can see it went a little crooked there when I moved it straight back, so if you want to be finicky, you can pull these over and just line up the edges. It's really not a big deal, but you might as well do it. Okay, so I'm just going to pull it over and kind of line it up with the edges this way. Okay, and as we get further down to the side here, it's going to become more and more whacked out, so let's just do it like that. Okay, and we'll just see if that looks okay. Alright, so that's kind of what we want there. Now what we can do is go back to edge, grab that bottom edge, loop it, go into the top view. With the move tool, just hold down shift and drag that back on the Y, and then we'll straighten it out here on the Y axis, make planar on Y. Okay, and we'll just bring that back and line it up with about that edge that we have on the body, like that. Okay, and I'm just looking to see if that's about the right distance. Okay, and before we move any further on this, I'm going to chop out some of the top polygons here. Alright, so let's control click both these pieces and we'll hide select it. Let's go back to our body piece and let's just do something here to get a void in. Let's maybe go to polygon. We'll turn on our back facing here and let's grab these polygons right here, as well as this one and this one. And we'll also do these ones in the top row. Okay, so just to that point there, we'll leave these ones in the front. Let's delete this. Okay, and let's go to edge. We're going to grab the edges along the back of the hole. Okay, and shift drag them down. Go into the front view so we can line this up. Okay, so we'll just bring it down to this edge here, which is the top of the cylindrical piece. Okay, and then we'll grab these ones along the cylinder. Okay, so we'll just go, let's maybe go all the way to the corner here on each side. Okay, and exactly the same thing. Shift drag goes back on the Y, make planar on Y, or X, sorry. And just pull that back and line up with this edge now. Okay, like that. Okay, now we obviously need to weld these up a bit, so let's do that quickly. I'm just actually going to pull this back so I can kind of see it a little bit easier. And we'll go into vertex, back to target weld, and just start snapping these points together. Okay, so we're going to start here, and we're just going to weld to this one, and we'll just continue working our way along, welding these together. Okay, we don't have a point here continuing over the back for this one, but we will weld the corner. Okay, like that. We're just going to leave that for now. Same thing over here, just continue working your way down to the left. Skip this one here and weld that corner one. Okay. And to get an edge in place for that, let's just ring this edge and this edge. and we'll connect those. Go into the top view, and we'll just hit OK, and then we'll go to vertex, and we'll just grab the verts for that edge, and we'll just move it over, and let's make sure we get those bottom ones. I have ignore back facing turned on, so we'll turn that off, and we'll just grab these verts here. Okay, and again, if you want to be finicky, you can straighten it out on the z-axis, and just move that over, line it up with this vert here, and the same thing over here. Grab these verts, make planar, and just pull them over. Okay, now we have points that we can weld to, so we'll just connect these up with target weld. And for the sides here, let's maybe cap these. Alright, so I'm going to grab this border as well as the one over on this side, do a cap, and then we'll just continue our edge flow from the sides here down to the base. Okay, and the easiest way for us to probably do that will probably be to cut it. So let's go to cut. We're just going to cut from maybe this vert here down and across. Okay, and the same thing over on this side, right down to here and across to this vert, and then right click to end it. Okay, and just to be on the safe side, I'm going to make sure that we actually got those on the verts. Okay, which we didn't. Yeah, you can see we have 3, we should only have 2, so let's find it. It's right here. We need to weld this up. So let's open up weld and crank that up until you see a difference of 1 here before and after. Okay, so we'll do that same thing over here on this side and check it. Grab these 3, and it looks like we only have 2 on this one, so that's fine. Okay, so this will create a void for us to, get that door in there. Now another problem we have that we're going to have to address here is how do we get a curve on here. The door on the back is actually curved, as you can see here. Okay, so we need rounded corners on each side here, and we're going to have to do that on both the door as well as on the body, and we're going to need to match those up. Alright, so as you can see here, there's no way we're going to be able to chamfer this edge into a curve with this edge here. So what we're going to need to do is get those out of there. Okay, and the easiest way for us to do that will be to reroute our edge flow from going this way to going this way. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is maybe just ring this edge. Okay, now it should go all the way around, but we actually don't want it to go all the way around. We just want it to come down to these bottom edges, so I'm going to hold down Alt and just deselect these ones for now. Okay, and on the bottom they're already deselected for us, so let's do a connect here. One segment, and we'll just slide this back on the Y. Let's make sure we hit it. There we go. I'm going to move this back and kind of line it up here so we can connect this point to this point. Okay, right about there. Now we'll go back to cut, and we'll just cut this vert over to this one, and the same thing on this side, this vert over to this one. Okay, now we can actually do a loop on this edge and this edge, and we'll just control backspace those out. Okay, now give us enough room that we can round over these corners in the back. Okay, now on the bottom here, I'll just connect these up quick. Alright, so connect those 2 pairs so everything's nice and neat. Okay, so we're looking pretty good. Let's just take care of these corners now. So I'm going to select the corner there and the one over on this side. And we'll go over to the top view. Let's turn our shading with F3, get rid of those damn selection brackets, and we'll just chamfer this down. Okay, so I'm going to open up chamfer here. We're going to crank this up quite a bit. We'll also add maybe something like 4 segments maybe. Okay, and you can see that this is running into this edge here right now. And we'll try to crank it up a bit. We're going to need to clean up that mesh a lot at the top. Okay, and I want these to be quite rounded. Now let's just take another look at our reference. Let's do about 50 with 4 segments and hit OK.